Hello anybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Banjo-Kazooie. I'm Mr. Devious, or just Deeb, and in the last episode, ignore that guy, we opened Mumbo's Mountain, the first world of the game. In today's episode, we are going right on inside. Ignore that guy! So, Mumbo's Mountain. There's a lot to say about this as a first world. Immediately, Bottles will talk to us and tell us there are 3 new moves to learn in this world, and the reason I'm not doing his voice is because as far as first worlds go, Banjo-Kazooie, this is, as much as I love Banjo-Kazooie, its first world is one of its flaws because it throws so much at you. We get a Mumbo token. Me Mumbo's token, used for Mumbo magic. And there are so many collectibles to pick up. You basically learn all the collectibles in the game. Yeah, that's a note. That's one of 100. There's 100 to collect on each world, and I'll be talking about each of these collectibles as we go through this world. Mumbo's Mountain is kind of the second tutorial in the game. If Spiral Mountain is your tutorial for basic moves, then this one is... Wait a minute. If Mumbo's Mountain is your tutorial... if Spiral Mountain is your tutorial for basic moves, like jumping and running and doing all that, Mumbo's Mountain is your tutorial for, like, all of this stuff, like the collectibles and the items and the objects. So these are notes. We need 100 of them to beat a world. Now, that thing we have in the menu down there is a Jinjo, and I think it saved one that I picked up by accident. There was a purple one at the start of the level on top of one of those cliffs that I picked up, and we picked up a blue one, because if you look over there, there was... right over there, behind that tree, up on that ledge, is where you would get the purple Jinjo. And the reason I have it is because one of the differences between Banjo-Kazooie on the Xbox Live Arcade as compared to the N64 version is that this game will save the number of Jinjos that you have in each world when you exit the world, as well as musical notes. Now, this basically means that in the N64 version, when you leave a world and you didn't collect all the Jinjos, you collect 5 Jinjos to get a Jiggy, all of those Jinjos were reset. Gore a termite! There we go. This game is also kind of brutal in the animations, and I never quite realized that right away. And anyway, if you leave the world in the N64 version, don't have all the Jinjos, you have to get them all again. In the Xbox Live Arcade version of the game saves which Jinjos you've already gotten. So that's interesting. However, also we have our first Jiggy over here, but we're not going to pick it up just yet. And these are eggs. We're going to learn about them more later. We're the eggs. Kazooie can learn to use us as ammo. You see, everything talks to you, and it's a bit of a sensory overload. And I know I'm going kind of fast with the commentary and kind of wandering around and not being super productive, but this first world is so overwhelming.
You must search for 10 of us on each world.
Yep, there are 10 Jiggies per world, and you need them to progress through the Witch's Lair, because as we learned in the last episode, Jiggies are used to fill in portraits, and by filling in portraits, you go to extra worlds, and then Bottles is telling you that you can leave the world whenever you want by going and standing on the pad that you used to enter the game. And this is one of the cool differences between Banjo-Kazooie and another platformer, Mario 64, is that the world doesn't kick you out when you get your first Jiggy. You can get most of the Jiggies, like in Banjo-Kazooie, with one exception, you can get all your Jiggies their first time visiting a world, and all the notes and all of that. Now we're going to talk to this molehill, because we're going to learn a new move, and a very important move. There we go. The Talon Trot will let Kazooie tackle steep slopes with ease.
That sounds useful. How does she do it?
Hold the right trigger, then press the left trigger. Continue to hold the right or left trigger while moving Kazooie around.
So right now we are getting the most useful move in the game, and one that emphasizes how useless Banjo is. This is Talon Trot. It allows you to go faster than when you're Banjo, and it also lets you tackle steep slopes. To be quite honest, there's no real reason to ever walk around as Banjo unless you need to walk around with precision and be a little more accurate. So now we can go on this slope and get all of these musical notes. There are 100 musical notes in each world, and as Bottles is telling us right now,
you've collected enough notes to break the first note door.
There are note doors throughout Gruntilda's lair that you need to break by having a certain number of notes. Now, this is the Xbox Live Arcade version, so like the Jinjos, the game records how many notes you get in each world. But in the N64 version of the game, it only saved your high score of notes. So if I left the world right now in the N64 version with 64 notes, if I came back, I would have to get all those notes again, as well as more. In the Xbox Live Arcade version of the game, if I leave the world, I can just come back, and get the remaining notes that I haven't gotten yet. And this actually leads to a glitch that's a little bit later. Go away, leave my honeycombs alone. This is a honeycomb box. It has honeycomb if you need to refill on life. And that's about it. This bowl is big butt, don't worry about him, but yeah. Purists might say that, oh,
This Conga's treat. Me hit bear with oranges.
god dang, this is going way too fast, but yeah.
Don't touch Conga's blocks.
Maybe I should just slow down, reaffirm myself, and take this one thing at a time. So let's talk about Conga and this area of the level. Mumbo's Mountain is divided into about 3 major sections up top that hill, but other than that, there's also this area with Conga and the area around, like, well, we'll get there when we get there.
Clever bear find Conga's gold.
Now, since this is a rare game, they like to teach fairly well through gameplay rather than just, well, they do teach a lot through tutorials, and we steal Conga's orange.
Hey, that Conga's orange. Put it back.
Why does the orange need to talk? Oranges are nice. Why would you tell me that? And we come over to this monkey and give it to him. Hi, Diddy. I mean, not Diddy. And he likes oranges and help Fat Bear and Bird. One trend you'll notice in this game is that not a lot of people have a lot of respect for Banjo and Kazooie, and that's pretty funny. Even your allies in this game are not necessarily, they don't necessarily like you. And Kazooie, it's okay because Kazooie's kind of a mean person, so it all balances out. So now we're gonna learn what to do with these eggs in this major area. You get like, I think, 3 jiggies from this side of the map alone.
Time for the buzzard to learn the ancient ways of the egg.
I'm listening, Beetle Breath.
Hold the right or left trigger, then press Y to shoot an egg out of your mouth.
Hey, sounds cool. Anything else?
Sure, press B instead and you can shoot them out from behind.
Sheesh, sounds painful. I wish I had never asked.
Bird Brain can carry 100 eggs in her backpack. Oh, and you can also use the left stick to aim while you are crouching. Exciting, huh? Now if you learn to use the eggs, here's 50 to...
This is a nice thing about tutorials too, is when you learn the related moves, the bottles will give you like some eggs to work with, so that's very nice. And we missed the switch. That is a witch switch, and we can't do anything with it yet, so it's okay that I fell past it, because we need to learn another move in this world. Spoilers, it's a ground pound, but that's about it.
Me safe here. Bear can't hit Conga.
Now, right here we have Conga, who is, like, this is what you get to test out your eggs on. And he's like,
Yeah, egg hurt
Conga, and he will throw an orange at you. He's fairly easy to dodge, however, he is your first experience with thrown projectiles. This game has a lot of those.
Bear beat Conga. Me give prize to bear.
And we aren't going to see it so much right now, but as the game gets on, enemies that throw things at you are going to gradually get more accurate, and they're going to get good. That's an impressive thing about the Banjo-Kazooie games, at least Kazooie and Tooie, is enemies have pretty good accuracy when they throw stuff. Not so much Conga, because this is the first world, and, you know, it's okay that he's not particularly accurate, but whatever. So we've taken care of that side of the map, except for the witch switch, so we're going to go over to the other side of the map. I will say, even though Mumbo's Mountain isn't perfect, I really like its track. It's really catchy and bouncy and fun. Now, if we go in here, into this big termite mound, we will find some steep slopes. Also some termites. Hey, Ugly! No bears allowed in Ticker's Tower! Now let's try out our eggs. Incidentally, eggs that you poop out, you can pick up again, so that's nice. And that is how you gore a ticker. Now, if we come up here, we get another Mumbo's token. We can't get any further. We need to come back a little later. Those are a little too slippery, and a little too steep even for the Talon Trot. But as you can see, those eggs are as powerful as your bear swipes. So you could just use an egg other than the bear swipes. And this is again emphasizing how Kazooie does all the work, and Kazooie is just the better member of the team. And this is more emphasized in Banjo-Tooie when you can split them up, and Kazooie is just generally more useful than Banjo. But I digress. If we ever play Banjo-Tooie, we'll show it off there.
I call this the Beak Buster. Jump into the air, then press the right or left trigger to send Kazooie slamming hard down to the floor.
I don't like the sounds of that, Banjo.
Get used to it, Nest Girl. You'll be using it a lot. Whoa, Banjo, there's nothing more I can teach you on this world.
That's also nice that Bottles will tell you when you've learned all the moves in the world, so now we know the ground pound. It's kind of funny that they get Kazooie to do it when they could probably get away with having Banjo use the ground pound. I mean, he is a bear and not a bird, but instead we use Kazooie's head, and it's just kind of terrible. Hilarious, but terrible. So we can go and get that witch switch basically whenever now, but we're not going to get it just yet. Now, as we destroy these natives' homes and steal their things, we get I think that's the last Jinjo, we will get the Jiggy associated with them. And of course, Kazooie will eat it, like all the rest. Now you might notice that we already have 5 Jiggies, and there are 10 in a world. Mumbo's Mountain is by far the shortest world in the game, and we're gonna finish it up in this episode. That's how short it is. You see, that's another one right there. Another Jiggy. And as for this, we're gonna jump up here and get another Jiggy. So now we're like, what, 7? Hi, Brutus! 7 Jiggies. Here's another thing that we get to play around with.
We Juju, Mumbo's totem pole. Feed us with nice blue stones.
Also, the game doesn't necessarily always say outright what you need to use. Usually this applies to eggs, but also when people are talking about Jiggies, they'll sometimes call it a prize or gold or something. But when they talk about the blue eggs, they sometimes call them stones or rocks. Now, don't shoot out the last one. You want to leave it so you can jump up here and get this empty honeycomb piece that we'll need to get extra life. If you do accidentally shoot this out too early, you can always come back and get it later, but it's just generally better to get it right away, and this is actually kind of a pain. There we go. And that is the 8th Jiggy in the level. We have a lot of Jiggies. Now, because we needed eggs to get that Jiggy, and we needed the ground pound to get the witch switch back over there, which I'm actually going to go get right now because it just is that short to go get it. I'm also going to try and get something on this slope. Yep, there we go. Because they put the egg on one side of the map and the ground pound on the other side of the map, you're going to end up having to go back to at least one side of the map at least once in order to finish Mumbo's Mountain completely. And this is kind of cool. It's not really, look, we're already over here, and this is kind of what I think is something Banjo-Kazooie has over Banjo-Tooie, is that its worlds are more contained and they're quicker to get through. So on the whole, it's a lot more replayable and accessible than Banjo-Tooie. Now, if you were just paying attention there while I was talking, you'll have noticed that a Jiggy has spawned inside Gruntilda's lair. Now that basically is what witch switches do. There is one witch switch in every world, and each one will spawn a Jiggy in Gruntilda's lair for a total of 10 Jiggies, the first of which was a freebie, so there are 9 worlds in the game. We are almost done with Mumbo's Mountain though, so that's pretty neat. I'm just trying to remember what else we need to do. There are some notes down along this way, and we'll get that Jiggy last, for reasons that I'm not going to say yet, but first we want to go in here and meet our new friend Mumbo. Well, first we're gonna steal his notes. And now we're gonna talk to him.
Me Mumbo, best shaman in all game. Can help Banjo and filthy feathered one.
Watch it, hot boy!
Mumbo's magic tokens hid by witch. Find tokens and Mumbo help you. Ah, Banjo has plenty tokens. Stand on skull and press X to see mighty Mumbo magic.
So this is Mumbo. Aside from him having like the most ugly head in the game, he's really cool. They fix his head in Banjo-Tooie. It's kind of glorious. And we're gonna take his magic offering, and when he casts his magic, we are turned into a termite.
Mumbo magic free to change back. You come when ready. Termite bit small, but not bad for first spell. Mumbo practice needed.
So yeah, he kind of he says he's the best shaman in the game, and then he tells you, oh, it's my first spell, it's first spell, I need to practice. So you kind of have to give that to him, whether you want to or not. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go in here, and we are going to climb up Ticker's Tower, and we're gonna get this Jiggy up at the top, because there is a Jiggy at the top, because one of the patterns in Banjo-Kazooie is you can trust that,
Hey, where did you get those shorts? I want them.
Incidentally, this means that even though we are a termite, these termites are not our friends because they want to steal our shorts, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, in Banjo-Kazooie, you can be assured that there is a "give me that cool backpack or else." You can be certain that there will be a Jiggy at the top of every level. I think that every level has at least one Jiggy at the very top. Now, since the Xbox Live Arcade version of the game made it so that you keep your notes and your Jinjos when you die, with a few exceptions in collectibles and worlds that you lose when you die, for the most part, there isn't really much consequence to dying. If you lose all your lives, you do get a game over and you have to start back at the start of Gruntilda's lair, but when you die, all you really gotta do is get those collectibles you got again. Otherwise, it's not really a big deal. In Banjo-Tooie, they took out, like, the whole you gotta get that many notes on your first run throughout a world.
You found all 100 notes on this world. Well done.
There's 100 notes on each world, you get them all, you get a life. And he says, well done. And we're actually gonna leave the world first before we get that last Jiggy, because we need the termite to climb up the outside of the level and get this Jiggy. And now, what happens is, and that guy's gonna wanna take our shorts. Interestingly, a speedrunning tactic in this game is if you try to leave an area without that, he's like,
Mumbo magic get weak. Animal turn back on magic go.
this is a speedrunning tactic actually,
Magical god must go back to bear and bird now.
is that usually it's more efficient to have the magic run out than it is to actually go back to Mumbo and have him fix everything, or like change you back manually. Now that we've done that, we've gotten all the notes on this world, we've gotten all the Jinjos and all the Mumbo tokens, and there are a finite number of Mumbo tokens in the game. There's about 105, but you won't need them all. Now that you need 75, we will come and we'll get the last Jiggy and finish off Mumbo's Mountain. And the reason I wanted to get that one last as Banjo and Kazooie and not as a termite is so I could show off that little dance they do. When you get all 10, you get a little dance, and that's really nice. And you don't get that when you're an animal and you pick it up. And there will be other animal transformations in the game, but I digress. That was Mumbo's Mountain. We did everything, we got everything, and we are about done with this world, so we are going to leave and go back into Gruntilda's lair. However, I think that is adequate for one episode. We did a full world, and we're about ready to go on to the next thing with 11 Jiggies in hand now. So we're about ready to go, and we're gonna gore this termite because, you know, he deserves it. And I think we're gonna end the episode smelling the flowers and enjoying them and having a good time. So you know what? If you want to see the next world and more of Banjo-Kazooie, then I just hope to see somebody in the next one. Bye-bye!